going to learn how to diffuse negativity using 3 of the principles from How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. The first one is most important. It's don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Now, Mr. Carnegie started off with realizing that we need to stop current behavior before we add 29 other principles to help us to influence and make friends. That this is the number one thing we need to stop doing in order to build rapport, coach people, or win people to our way of thinking. This principle is often misinterpreted, though, that it only means just be quiet, bite your tongue, don't criticize. That really, if we can have compassion, leverage some of the other principles, or such as, try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view and get inside somebody else's head, we're going to be a lot less negative and critical to begin with. So it's not necessarily just about biting our tongue, but really about changing our thinking about other people so that they're less irritating. So one of my favorite recommendations of how to change our thinking is to realize that a lot of the times that we're actually wanting to be critical or don't like somebody is really just because they're different. It's not, we think that they're difficult, but when we get down to it, it's usually just a difference in their style. We may be really direct and we perceive somebody else that they beat around the bush, or their point of view is probably we're a bully and they're diplomatic and respectful. So the goal of don't criticize, condemn, and complain is, first of all, accept people. Train ourselves to look for the good in them instead of noticing the things that are frustrating. For example, if there's a colleague on your team that you may perceive as negative or that they find fault in things, that if you instead realize the value that brings to you and your team and put it into context, the bigger picture of the other strengths that they have, will help you to be less critical. And then if we don't catch ourselves with the criticism, it can lead to condemnation of other people. Really, it's like labeling and saying like you're bad and kind of just assuming all bad. And then the last is to not complain. That if we're trying to be uplifting and make connections with people, that if everything we say is complaining about it, or we have that victim mentality, people are going to avoid us because we're just not as pleasant to be around. So don't criticize, condemn, and complain. It will help you to reduce negativity. Principle number 2 that can help us to diffuse negativity is to give honest, sincere appreciation. Now, I always imagine this is kind of 2 different steps to that. The first step is to train ourselves to look for the good in people. So often we just go through our day and we take people for granted and we forget to give people the benefit of the doubt. So in order to give people appreciation and make it sincere, we have to be looking for that. Look for the value, catch them in the act of doing something good. And then the second part is to give appreciation and give them a specific example. So try this. When you give appreciation, try the formula of saying you are with a positive quality and, for example, with a specific time that they did it. So, for example, you might say to a colleague, you're a great presenter. You're so engaging. For example, the way that you used an analogy to describe the rhythm of business was so clear. And that way it makes it easier for you to give the appreciation because you feel you've got that specific example, and it makes it easier for the other person to take as well. It reminds me in How to Win Friends and Influence People, Mr. Carnegie said, I'm not talking about flattery. Anybody can see through that. I'm talking about a new way of living. And I love this idea because it's not just about giving appreciation to people, which helps them, but it's also really that giving is receiving. As we give appreciation to others, we also have the joy that we receive back, that we give somebody a good compliment and we have a connection, and it's a win-win for everybody. So give appreciation and you'll be a stronger leader. The third principle that's really helpful to help us to diffuse negative attitudes is to listen. if we think about the principle, there's actually two parts of it. The first part is to be a good listener. And I almost think of this as for the extroverts. That means don't interrupt. Let the other person have the floor and let them speak. And really listen intently. Not distracted, not on a device, not waiting on your laptop, just full undivided attention. The second part of that is to encourage the other person to talk about themselves. Now, this may require you to actually talk more, that you need to ask some prompting questions. Or maybe they're kind of hesitant, especially if you're a senior leader. They may think you're just asking something to be nice. So if you offer something up, for example, if somebody says, "How was your weekend?" To be a good listener, you may have to say, "Oh, great, I did some gardening. What about you?" Then they feel like they have the permission to add that specific, be a good listener. Most importantly, when we listen, especially when somebody's upset, we show that they're important and we're really listening to the evidence they present. And you can almost watch them physically diffuse, get more relaxed as you nod, listen, and play back what they've already said to you. So try these principles to diffuse negativity and you'll be a leader on your team. Stay tuned for a couple more tips that you can watch and keep notes to help you to diffuse negativity.